being able to eat, keep it down, being able to enjoy a meal. Obviously vision, like losing your vision, it humbles you because if you don't have those things, like those are the things you wake up with and you just expect, right?
Yeah.
But so for me, yeah, it changed my health, like the perspective on health in a different way.
Hello, I'm Sam.
And I'm Amelia.
Welcome back to Us Your Podcast where we aim to build a better mindset for better relationships.
Yeah, this week we're talking a bit of mindset and relationship, a bit of both. We have someone here who's going to share their journey on having an autoimmune disease for about the past 8 years and how that has changed his perspective on life and also how it's built a stronger mindset for him to work through this on a daily basis.
That's right. The special guest is an online coach specializing in health, well-being, and mindset with an added little spice on there as well. He's also a ICN bodybuilding pro, okay, but also navigating through his journey with a chronic illness. So, An Nguyen, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I think it's actually an honor to be here and I'm pretty grateful just for the opportunity as well. And thank you for creating a platform for us to share our stories and share about mindset as well. So it takes courage to do that. So thank you so much.
Yeah. So all the listeners, this chronic illness, do you mind sharing what it is and how it all started?
No problem. So NMO stands for Neuromyelitis optica. So I was diagnosed in March 2016. So neuromyelitis optica affects your immune system, which attacks your spinal cord, the nerves in your spinal cord and your optic nerves in your eyes. So it's a pretty heavy condition. So worst case scenarios is you can go blind, you can be paralyzed, and be quadriplegic, and you could also lead to death depending on the scenarios there. It affects about 1% of Australians. So it's really, really rare. If you've heard of multiple sclerosis, that's probably the closest thing it's related to. It's similar to a brother and sister because with that condition, it does affect the nerves, but not obviously the spinal cord can affect anywhere else. So diagnosed 2016, big, obviously life changer for me. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So this autoimmune disease, is it treatable? Is it just something that you have to work through?
Yeah, so there's no cure, but there are obviously a lot of treatments at the moment that can kind of manage it a little bit better. And a lot of research at the moment is going into it just to find other ways. So for me, I was treated with a medication to suppress my immune system, a medication called rituximab. That basically will suppress your immune system to stop, obviously, your immune system from attacking it or anything like that. But the result of that creates immunosuppression. So that's created myself to have a weakened immune system. So that's kind of the thing I'm kind of dealing with really right now, which is a kind of new scenario. I've been pretty grateful and pretty lucky because I've been able to kind of connect with others with the condition and some of the pathways and some of the journeys they've been going through as well. So it's kind of given me kind of insight and kind of validated some of the things I'm going through at the moment though. But it is a pretty complex journey, just to be open and honest about it though. So yeah.
Definitely, and for 8 years as well and ongoing.
Yeah, it was scary because it was the last day of January in 2016. I woke up and I had double vision. So I was seeing literally two of the same thing on top of each other and I had a really bad headache. And then the idiot of me, because didn't know what was going on, I went to work.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I went to work.
Just another day.
Yeah, I went to work.
Just punch on.
Nah, I went to work and then I was not right. And then my colleagues saw me and they're like, you need to go to hospital, dude. Something's not right though. And then I actually went just to see my doctor. And then my doctor said, oh, maybe it's just a really bad headache and it's impacting your vision. Let's just rest. If you want to go to hospital, you can. But I was sometimes you're scared to go to hospital and I didn't go to hospital straight away. But within about 2 days, it didn't go away.
Damn.
And then I went to the hospital and then I started developing other symptoms too. Started developing nausea and hiccups. So that's a part because it can impact your central nervous system too. And I had hiccups and then I had this other symptom, which was really unusual where if I would basically look up, my eyes would roll back. So it looked like I was having, it was hectic. And then I went to see the ophthalmologist and then they got in the whole neurology team. And they thought I was having a stroke.
Oh, shit.
So pretty much they said, you got to be admitted. I had to get an MRI straight away, which found like lesions in the back of my spinal cord. So that was what's causing the vision issues and the hiccups and all these things. And then I was in hospital about 2 weeks, and they did like all this tests. One of the tests that I hated, they do what's called a lumbar puncture. So they insert a needle into your spinal cord, and then they drain the fluid, and they have to test it. I was in hospital about 2 weeks, and they put me on like heaps of steroid medication. Eventually, my double vision subsided and the other things settled. I went out, I got discharged, but then probably maybe 2 weeks later, I started losing vision in my right eye.
Oh
Shit.
my God.
That was really scary because I was actually at work, and I just started noticing it getting a bit blurrier. And then I was looking at like an iPad, and then I just like on the right side, I couldn't see. And then it just progressively days got worse. I went back to hospital. I think by that time, they already had done all the tests, so they knew what was going on, and they gave me the diagnosis.
Oh my God, that's so
Far
scary.
out,
Just
man.
to lose your vision over the day or
Yeah,
something.
it was in those times you're like, you're scared. So you kind of like, oh, I don't want to go to hospital because sometimes you're scared to find out exactly what's
to
going on.
face
Yeah.
what it actually is.
Yeah. But yeah, like once I kind of got the diagnosis, it was like, okay, then I kind of had to figure it out from there. So
Did you know what NMO was at the time or?
nope, I did not have a clue. It was actually really not funny, but it's funny now when I look back. When the doctor told me, he said, I said, well, what's NMO? And he said, it's called neuromyelitis. He's trying to explain it. And then he's like, just Google it.
Mm.
And you know, when
Nice.
you Google things, right? Like Dr.
Yeah.
Google, you get like the worst case scenarios, like what's your life expectancy, like
Mm.
blindness, all this stuff. Oh, holy shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, I didn't know the disease, and then I didn't know what was going to happen. And I think the first thing I asked the doctor was, am I going to be able to live a normal life?
Yeah.
Mm.
And he said to me, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know.
That would have been so hard to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they're saying, I'm not sure. So even the doctor can't tell you
Yeah.
what to expect.
He said that every case is different. So we just have to treat you and kind of figure it out.
Mm.
Far out.
Quite scary, quite
Yeah.
heavy. Yeah. So yeah.
What were you feeling at the time, man? Like when the doctor was like telling you this, but then also you're trying to soak it up.
Yeah, obviously very scared. A lot of uncertainty. I think the thing for me was like, yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I remember like reaching out to my wife, like we weren't married at the time, and messaging her. She was at work. I literally sent her a link of the condition, and she dropped everything, came to the hospital. And then we kind of like, yeah, just talked it out. And then like family came and supported and stuff like that too. And then they started the treatment because they knew what was going on.
Like straight away or?
Pretty much straight away. And then they put me on more steroid medication. So pretty much like once you have like any attacks, like if any inflammation or any damage occurs, like steroid medication will usually help to diffuse that.
Yeah.
So my vision in my right eye started coming back, but now I've lost a bit of color in the right eye. It's probably about maybe 40% of it. So I can still see a little bit, but it's not as strong in the left.
Like
so
the
I can,
saturation's like going
yeah,
down.
it's a weird thing though. So, but I was just grateful to at least get the vision back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then after that, I think that was in March 2016. And the only other symptom I had since then was like I had like this tingling down my legs for like a month.
Mm.
And then every time I would walk fast or jog or run, I would just feel this tingling. It's like pins and needles like through your legs.
Damn.
Yeah, it was really unusual, but that kind of subsided.
Mm.
But yeah, that feeling of just uncertainty was definitely there, and just like, yeah, obviously really scary at the same time. So yeah.
Wow. That pins and needles though, just side topping.
Yeah.
Does it like, because you know how when you sit on your leg for
Yeah.
ages and then you can't feel your leg, it was like pretty much like
Similar feeling, yeah. Like,
Shit.
yeah, that kind of tingling and that kind of numb feeling.
that. Far out, dude.
I think I went back into hospital in May and did an MRI,
Yeah.
and then they didn't find anything, and then eventually it just went away.
Shit, dude. So then how did it impact like your relationships and just things outside of you, like your life just in general?
Yeah, well, it definitely impacted my wife and I's relationship. Even like, look, just being open and honest before that, we were kind of a little bit rocky at the same time, because at
Yeah.
that time of my life, I probably wasn't where I wanted to be in life.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were dating for about 3 years into our relationship, and you speak about marriage and all these things,
Yep.
but in the reality of things, you have to have a plan.
Mm.
And I didn't really have a kind of career goal in mind. I was kind of like, I think the year before I had competed, I had become a pro. So I was thinking about going in that direction. But then this happened, like, getting this diagnosis. So I was like, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do that because it's quite physically draining.
Yeah.
So I had a 9 to 5 and then focused in on that just because it was right there and then. And it was a little bit easy on the body. And that kind of gave me that purpose. But it definitely greatly impacted my relationship with Jess and my wife as well because, we were unsure where we were going to go. This diagnosis didn't help at the same time. I remember we actually had this really serious conversation in the hospital, like after the diagnosis for about 2 hours and just kind of mapping out where I could go in my life. Yeah, then I decided to kind of focus on my 9 to 5 at the time, which I was quite successful in it. But it was hard, but in a way, like I think if, in a relationship, if you can endure the struggles and kind of get through them, they will make you stronger.
Yeah.
As the years wore on as well, like that was probably the first time I've ever felt like depression or anxiety just because like I've never faced it before. I was definitely a shadow of myself in terms of confidence. And then in 2017, like Jess and I were pretty rocky and then we were almost at a point where we were going to break up.
Damn.
Because she didn't want to be a person to have to look after me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
She wanted me to have confidence to fulfill my goals and dreams. And she mentioned it. She was like, actually, we found a funny reason. We only spoke about it, I think yesterday, because we celebrated our 3-year wedding anniversary. And then she said, I remember us having that conversation and you said that you were doing it for me, but you should be doing it for yourself. It made me realize that like in life that you have to have a purpose and do it for yourself. You have to want it, you know what I mean? Not do it for someone else because it's never going to work out.
Yeah.
But it kind of, we had to go through those struggles in a way.
Yeah.
Definitely have come out from it a lot stronger though.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I can just imagine, but it also gave you the opportunity to be open and honest and like put everything on the table and talk about it.
Yeah. Like I think I've always been a big person about communication. Probably both of coming from Asian upbringings, right? Yeah. Where our parents probably suppress a lot of things and we naturally would suppress a lot of things too. And we're kind of like people pleasers in a way. So we would try to. So I think the thing for Jess, she struggled to like really open up. And I tried to encourage her to like really get out a lot of things that she needed to say.
Like to share it to you, how she's feeling.
I think in the early years of our relationship, whenever she would get upset, she would just cry. But she couldn't get out like why she was upset. But over the years, as we got better and she improved in her communication, we were able to share our feelings and share what we needed to do to kind of move forward.
Yeah. That's good. Good that you had to, because sometimes you need to go through the challenges to understand what you need to do as well to move forward.
It's like any relationship because like it always takes work.
Yeah.
And I think for us, even though the diagnosis was really challenging and tough time, it was also a blessing in disguise because it created for me personally, like just a pathway to move forward in a way where I could be successful within myself. I was able to get promoted within my 9 to 5, I think 3 times, and I became a manager in that career. And then I competed again. So I competed again in 2017 because that was a year after I got diagnosed. And I did it because I wanted to prove it to myself that, I was living with this condition. I didn't share it with anyone, but I just did it because I wanted to do it for me.
Yeah.
It just made a pathway for Jess and I as well to kind of really, really move forward as well.
Yeah, solidify your relationship. Basically.
Yeah, but even like now, like I've got other health issues I'm going through. It's different. So we use some of our past things that we've learned and experienced and we kind of apply it, but it's still always going to be different.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. But what were you like before the whole NMO, like your personality wise? Were you like a confident dude? Because you obviously did bodybuilding.
Well, I think our previous conversation where we met up, I did tell you a story. Yeah, like I was studying like a Bachelor of Applied Science and I focused a lot on like personal training. So I was really into the bodybuilding and I started probably about 2009. Probably the years after I kind of dabbled into like nutrition and I went to personal training and then I obviously was building a better physique. And then I think by like 2013, 2014, and back in the day, this was when like Stereosonic and stuff was on. So I was getting shredded for Steza, you know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure a lot of like Asians and stuff will know about it. So I was getting in that shape, but ultimately that kind of prepared me to when I did my bodybuilding show, because I would literally like diet for like 12 weeks or whatever. But I had that previous experience in personal training and then working with people that I kind of applied it and went to that extra level. So yeah, I was kind of like a bit cocky, you know what I mean? Okay, Jess, my wife would say very cocky, but I had that arrogance because like I looked good, so I felt good, but I think I wasn't prepared in a way where the diagnosis, like it gave me a different experience of life to look at health in a different way.
Yeah.
So I was definitely a different person. I was very, a bit cocky in a way.
I think we also recall you sharing, because we had a chat before we got on, and you shared an experience how you met your wife at the club and showed her a picture of you.
Yeah, so my wife and I met 2012 at this nightclub, and then I tried to impress her, and I showed her like topless pics of me.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. Like it maybe worked on other girls, but with her it didn't.
Yeah.
But that probably showed that, she was more classier. She was worth the effort, and she had, principles in a way.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of prove it with my personality and my drive in life a little bit more. And that's kind of where it's kind of led me to. But I always say that picture was the catalyst to where we are now. In a
you
way
planted the seed.
For sure.
Wait, which club was that?
It was at the Met.
Oh,
shit. Yeah, so we met at the Met, yeah.
The
And
OG.
she just cringed, and she always tells a story of like, she's like, I can't believe you showed me that picture. And I'm like,
so funny.
I'm like, well, it works. So.
And it took a few years. So from all the highs, like winning the bodybuilding competition and all of that, and then coming into having the NMO and all those health situations, you did mention that humbled you. Is that really just stripping back all that ego and like the confidence?
Yeah. So 6 months prior to diagnosis, I competed in my last bodybuilding show, and that's when I got my pro card. So you can only imagine, like, when you're in the physical peak of your, best shape of your life, you're going to be confident, you're going to feel good. So I thought that I was cruising, like everything was good physically. And I was like, I think that year was 2016. My goal was to compete again, but I competed in men's physique division. I wanted to go into bodybuilding. So that was my goal, to get bigger. So I had other aspirations. But once I woke up on the last day of January, a double vision that shaped me, right? Because once I got the diagnosis and I went through, and that was probably a time where I was very, like, probably the sickest of my life. It really humbles you because I was able to see like two sides of health, like two perspectives, like being in the best shape of your life and then being potentially in the worst shape of your life.
Yeah.
So that gives you an insight of that your health is your priority, and with it. And like, I think like the basics of my life were so important, being able to, I didn't tell you as well, like when I had hiccups and like nausea, I couldn't keep down food.
Yeah.
So everything I ate, I'd vomit out. So being able to eat, keep it down, being able to enjoy a meal, obviously vision, like losing your vision, simple things like that. It humbles you, because if you don't have those things, like those are the things you wake up with and you just expect, right?
Yeah.
But, you have the gratitude that, those simple things that you do have in life, especially with your health, is so important. So for me, it changed my health, like the perspective on health in a different way, but in a positive way. So,
and it'd be hard because you won't know until you go through those type of situations as well.
Yeah, and that's probably the thing I've learned, obviously, living with this condition and like when I'm facing new health issues in the last 8 years, right? Like I have a lot of like empathy and compassion for like people with chronic illnesses and disabilities, because I can kind of relate and empathize what they're going through, because it's really hard to understand what a person is truly going through unless you've been through some sort of scenario like that with it. You can only imagine, you know what I mean? But you can't really think about, So, I have a lot of compassion and empathy for people with chronic illnesses. And that's probably like a direction where I'm heading a little bit now, because I kind of understand. But I've been very blessed because with NMO, I haven't been hit again since 2016, really. Like I've been able to keep that condition stable, but obviously my other health issues are still related to it in a way, but they're different in their own way though. So
a quick interruption. We want to thank all of you who have been supporting us. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube.
If you found any of our episodes helpful, please share to your friends and family, as it would help us grow.
Now back to the episode. So jumping into more like the current lifestyle, what have you changed that you wouldn't have even thought you would have done back then, as opposed to doing it now? And it's like a non-negotiable for you.
Yeah, like I think I mentioned before that when you do go through health issues, that life is short. And you think that, yeah, without your health. So when you do have it, like when I am healthy and I feel well, I definitely made the most of it. So I think with NMO, once I was diagnosed, probably about maybe 2-3 months after, and it was stable, and I felt okay, and like nothing was happening. I remember like my wife and I had planned to go to America that year, and I was like, wasn't going to go because I had the diagnosis, but then I was getting better and I was stable, and I was like, fuck it, life's short, I'm going to go. So I went and I had the best time of my life, and I started getting in shape again. So I started going back to the gym, I think in May that year. So I stopped for probably about 2 to 3 months. I lost about like 7-8 kilos as well.
Wow.
Damn.
I remember actually going to the gym and trying to do a pull up, and I was struggling. I was like, Jesus, I used to do like 4 sets for 15 easily, you know what I mean? But like, and yeah, struggling to do one. It was a really eye opener, but you got to start somewhere and kind of build upon that though. So yeah, it was just such a big thing. And even now, I'm just so appreciative, like, because with the things I'm going through now, like it's even more intense. Like I'm sick every 2 to 3 weeks. So I might have a good run where I'm healthy or stable for 2-3 weeks. So I'll make the most of it. So I think for me, health is so important. And when you do have it, life is short. So make the most of the opportunities you possibly can, do different things.
Yeah.
That's what we've been trying to do in the last few years and stuff like that. So yeah.
How do you keep your mindset to be more positive? Because obviously if it keeps reoccurring or something reoccurs every 2 to 3 weeks, some people might think in like, oh my God, not again. Whereas it seems like you're like, okay, I'm going to make the most of my time when I'm not having it. And then if it happens, I'll be okay with it happening and just move through the motions. Like, what do you tell yourself in those times?
It took a lot of like kind of learning in a way and trying to figure it out though, because like I said before, like in 2016, it was like, okay, I don't have any issues. I don't have any attacks happening at the moment. I think the biggest lesson that I learned from it was really just being present and taking things more day to day rather than thinking further ahead.
Yeah.
And once I kind of saw the day to day that I was okay, it just allowed me to just like take one step forward and progress forward though. So like I mentioned before, barely doing that pull up was really a big eye opener. Then I just went back the next day and did a little bit more, you know what I mean? And I slowly got back to where I was before. But yeah, that's probably one of the things that you just have to do, and you just have to be present and kind of take it day by day. And that's currently what I'm kind of doing a little bit at the moment. But it isn't easy. You have to, I think, rely on a lot of self-talk and have a lot of self-compassion to manage that, and have a good support network and get therapy or whatever you need to do to really do that though. It's probably one of the things that I do live by, and just being a bit more present. But this experience has really allowed me to really kind of see more of the lessons that come out of it, which are positive lessons in a way. That's what I've been able to do over the last probably 8 years or so.
In terms of staying present or learning to be more present, what do you do? Or like what are some things to be present?
It's a good question. I do a lot of meditation though. So I think so I generally do meditation every morning. So first thing I do every morning, because I'm sure each and every one of us, we have stresses or worries in life. So first thing we wake up, right? Our mind races a little bit, right? So I generally do that at the first thing in the morning, because that's when your mind races. But what meditation allows you to do is you're in your own space and your own time just to focus on yourself. And meditation is for everyone, but I highly recommend it, because what it allows me to do is focus on breathing, literally one thing. I personally do a guided one. I get someone to kind of like, I have my AirPods in and then talk me through it, however long you want to do, 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Meditation has been like one of the things where just allow me to focus on one thing. And if you're focusing on one thing, it can allow you to focus on that day. Yeah. And then in that moment, rather than focusing, a week ahead, a month ahead, or a year ahead, or whatever it might be. So
I agree. Following like a guided thingy is really good.
Thingy meditation.
Guided meditation.
I do a lot of like those thingies in the morning.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thingies.
The thingies, yeah. No, because they're actually good, because you know how they have someone that actually talks to you, you breathe, and it actually gives you that real direction. Because we used to do it before, well, we kind of still do it from time to time, but before sleeping.
Yeah.
Because I find that I think a lot before, like going to bed, and because I've got so much shit going on, I'm like, oh, fuck, all this stuff is coming to my mind. So sometimes we would put it on before sleeping, and it really helps you sort of control your breathing.
Yep.
And I think controlling your breathing really helps focus on just relaxing or just toning it down.
Yeah. And something quite similar. We were actually talking about this because we deadlift on Fridays, and we were just talking about something very similar. And we uncovered that we sort of use a meditation concept because before you lift, especially when you go really heavy, for me, I have a lot of thoughts in my head, and it doesn't necessarily have to be doubts or anything. It's just a whole lot of chatter in your head, and I have to clear my head and literally think nothing. Like it has to be like no clouds in the sky before I can lift. And then Sam was also sharing his side how he needs to clear those as well, and it's more like just that moment where you just listen to your breathing, just focus on just that one thing, and then that really helps your lift. So it really does help just to clear everything out of your mind.
Yeah, it's a really powerful tool, and like, you know, we're born onto this earth, and the first thing we do is we breathe. You know what I mean? So I think as we get older, it's like one of those things that we kind of forget to focus in on, and like your breathing can calm you and focus. Like I was a bit like, it's about 2-3 years ago I tried it, but like I'll do it 1 minute, I'm like, I don't feel any different. You know what I mean? But it's like anything in life, like training, going to the gym, lifting, or powerlifting, Muay Thai, anything. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
I think you just have to have like a focus to do it and consistently, and then once you do it more consistently, you'll definitely feel the benefits of it as well. So
and it's hard at first because that's when you have the most chatter in your mind, but then the more you do it, the less you have of that, or even you understand why it's coming and going.
Yeah, for sure. So it's super powerful. I always recommend it to my friends and stuff like that, but they're still not on the meditation train yet though. So
yeah, I can understand it's hard. It's hard to jump on the whole meditation side of thing.
Especially when you've got a busy lifestyle. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'll get to it, or like, I don't have time for it. But really, you can just put aside 5 minutes, 2 minutes a day just to do it a little bit.
But it's good that, like, I think for you, Sam, like you mentioned, like when you know that probably your mind races the most, and that's probably the time that you do need to do it, you know what I mean? Because when your mind's racing, that's when you can't calm it down and you struggle to sleep or anything like that.
Yeah. You mentioned before about support network.
Yes.
What support network did you have during the time, like when you were going through the whole NMO discovery?
So obviously I had my wife, I had my family, I had my friends, I had my colleagues and stuff like that. So I was very blessed, very lucky. But I would say that the relationship with my wife, as I shared before, definitely brought us closer. With my family, 100% brought us closer too. Like for me, growing up in like a Vietnamese family, and I'm sure you can relate as well, like we're not really taught to really speak about our feelings and all of those things, right? But because I was in hospital for such a long period of time, like I was in there for about a month, and then I was in there for like another 2 weeks, so about 6 weeks in that first, like from February to like March and April. Yeah, we just had a lot of time just to, I guess, talk, right? Yeah, and then because I think once you go through a journey where like I got a diagnosis, it was scary, they were probably feeling that same way.
Yeah.
So I never shared the story actually, but my eldest brother, I've never seen him cry. But once I got my diagnosis, he gave me a hug and cried.
Yeah.
I've never, like, he's not type that never shows emotions, and he cried.
Damn.
My dad didn't cry. He won't cry. But I was able just to talk to him more and just to be able to, because me and my dad, like growing up, like naturally in Asian upbringing, your father is probably the one that's working the most, providing.
Yeah.
So you don't see them and have a relationship. So, and my mum passed away when I was 14.
Oh, no.
So the dynamic in our family was quite different. So I wasn't that close to my father because he was working and stuff like that. I was in high school going through all the stuff. But yeah, it definitely brought us closer in a way. And now like we're able just to talk more, just about general things and like important things too. And then even my father had quite like heavy health issues late last year. He was in hospital for about 6 weeks.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we've just been able to talk, and like he's just being open and honest about like what's next. And we're talking about like his funeral, all this stuff, which is deep. But I think the journey of like my diagnosis has kind of led to us having this open communication now.
That's good.
Which has been really beneficial for all of us. So
How did you even start that first conversation of being open? Because I can imagine how awkward and weird that would be.
My wife was like she actually nudged a lot of it because I learned a lot of her and her family, because her family are very tight knit and they support each other. They talk a lot and they're just always there for each other. And like when I started dating my wife, like I just saw their relationship. I was like, how come you guys are so close? Like you like check in on her, like the parents would like check in that night where they are and like, you know, what's going on and stuff like that. And I'm like, I remember actually having like a kind of conversation with my wife at like, this was early years. And I'm like, how come you have to tell your parents like where you are? And she's like, that's just the way it is. And I'm like, But I'm like, can't you just live your life and do whatever you want? But like as you grow up, you see how tight knit like a family and like they support each other. So she supported me and said, you should talk to your father a little bit more. Like he's still your father in a way. And yeah, I think that kind of nudge allowed me to just talk about general things and then talk about my health. And then, yeah, it just kind of gave me that nudge and we started just talking about general things. But I think once we talk about health, it's pretty serious, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of spoke about like our future and all these things too. But like in anything in life, you just have to start the conversation and it kind of builds upon that.
Did you have to let go of any thoughts that you anticipated about the conversation? You're like, let's just do it.
I don't think so. I just kind of
just went for it.
But it definitely, my wife nudged. I think there was a scenario actually because we were 3 years into our relationship, but my dad hadn't met like the parents yet.
Oh,
yeah. So she was like, my mum wants to meet your dad. And then I think that was one of the conversations. So I was actually in hospital and I just said, Dad, Jess's parents want to meet you. And he was like nervous, which is really funny, but kind of got the ball rolling with a few things and they met each other and they got to know each other in a way. And it was really good because like that kind of established their relationship and they kind of started connecting with each other a little bit more. But I just definitely have to say like my wife is to say thank you to
the
her.
MVP.
Yeah, she's the MVP because she kind of nudged me in the right direction. So yeah.
Yeah. What about friendship? Going through and sharing that you have NMO, was there any changes or impacts in friendship?
Initially that year, like my close friends were there, like they came into hospitals and visited me. But I think because obviously the journey's been long and like it's been 8 years and then I've been dealing with my new like kind of health issues for probably over 2 years now. As you know, everyone gets a lot busier. Like a lot of my friends are married, have kids, have families.
Yeah.
And naturally when you have families, you're busier and you don't have that much time. So I guess we just don't see each other and check in often. But I probably discovered in the last like 2 years dealing with my new kind of illness or health issues at the moment that I did definitely go through kind of a dark period in a way because like these health issues right now are probably more intense than what I was dealing with back in 2016. I probably went a bit quiet on social media and certain things. And what I probably learned is the people that probably have check in you, your friends that check in on you, they're the ones that are probably the real ones, you know what I mean? That they care about you, but the ones that go silent and that's just the way it is. So there was just a few friendships that I thought that maybe were a bit more genuine, more real, but I think sometimes things in life just the way it is, and you just kind of grow apart or just isn't real at the same time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand it. I guess when you're at that point when you're trying to, I guess, understand your friendship scenario, it can be a little upsetting. It's good to know that your family and Jess's side really had a really strong bond to essentially support you.
Yep.
I think that's the most important there.
Yeah.
To help you get through that.
Yeah, I was very blessed in this period of time, like support network wise. I think also another support network is like I wasn't afraid. I reached out to a counsellor and I still do. Yeah, I speak to his name's Dr. Kelvin. Hi, Dr. Kelvin, if you're watching, by the way. He lives in Perth, by the way. So yeah,
Nice.
I speak to him every month and like I think it probably took 2 years for me to kind of like reach to that point where like I was proactive about it. And I encourage a lot of people to, if they do need therapy or in some sort of aspect to kind of be proactive about it rather than reactive. Because this day and age, mental health is spoken a lot more about, but has to take some time to event for it to happen. But if you kind of like, just proactively just checking in to see, like we get health checks for our eyes, we get our ears checked every year, we get our teeth checked, right? It's the same thing. Our mental health is probably even more important, you know what I mean? So I think being proactive about it, I definitely highly recommend it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you're saying that currently you're going through something that's a bit more challenging than your initial NMO. Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, so it's kind of like as a consequence of NMO. So my treatment for that NMO was I was taking a medication called rituximab, which suppresses your immune system, and I was taking it for 8 years.
Wow,
damn!
Because I noticed probably about 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, that I was getting more frequent like chest infections and more just infections in general, like respiratory infections. And then, I had a few hospital visits trying to figure it out. They couldn't find it, but I researched and I spoke to like a lot of the respiratory doctors at the hospital at PA, and they were able to share that, sometimes a side effect of rituximab is potential lung infections or lung issues or respiratory issues. And then like searching online, reaching out to others in the NMO community too. There were some others, but it's quite rare. So I think I'm in that space at the moment. So currently what I'm dealing with because of that is I basically get chest infections every 2 weeks,
Wow.
3 weeks. And then I'll get sick for about 2-3 weeks, have a good run for 2-3 weeks. So it's like kind of a bit of a cycle. We've made some changes in the last like probably year or so, like a lot of like different treatment options and stuff like that. So like last year, so I was originally seen by the neurology team for NMO, but they introduced immunology, which is like looking into your immune systems, allergies and all those things. They started seeing me August last year and they introduced immunotherapy. So I get those monthly infusions started in November last year, and we were really hoping that would resolve what was going on, but it didn't, unfortunately. And then I started seeing respiratory team in April this year. So we're trying to navigate and figure that out. I recently got a procedure done called a bronchoscopy where they put a camera down your throat and lungs and they take biopsies and test it. That was about a few weeks ago. I'm hoping to get some results hopefully in the next few weeks or months or so to try to navigate through that. I stopped taking rituximab too, so I'm on a new medication. So what I've probably learned through this process too, like if you do have health issues, it's really important to be patient. Hard though, because you get frustrated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned that this medical team, I've got 3 teams looking after me now at the moment.
Right,
You got a tribe going on.
But they're doing their best to like,
Yeah.
But there was a period of time I remember in, I think it was June 2022, and I went to a hospital and they couldn't figure it out and I was frustrated. But then I spoke to one doctor and he just said to me, he's like, look, situation is complex, but we will figure it out. It might take time. Like we're doing our best. I've been in the hospital for a week. You've tried to do all this tests to try to figure it out. So you are doing your best though. So that's probably another thing I have learned though.
Yeah. And also realizing that you are trying all that you can to figure out what it is, rather than someone that's like, okay, I don't know what's going on, I'm just going to give up. So you had that authority to keep moving forward, which is good, and seeing that as well. Yeah, and I totally understand that frustration because I rolled my ankle in January. It's currently July. I think when this goes out might be August, but I still have this pain in my ankles. So I can totally understand like doing all these different things, trying, and it's still hurting.
Have you got it looked at?
I have. I need to go take an MRI. That's still on the list because the wait list is quite long. I took an X-ray, done like stretches and all that. Still going on. And then even last year in June, July, I had vertigo and tinnitus. So that's still ongoing and no one can figure out what the vertigo is coming from. So I think I can understand the frustration trying to figure out and just trying all these things, seeing different people, and no one has an answer for you. And the answers are like, you're fine. I'm like, but my body isn't telling me
something's not right. So
So
I would say like for your journey, just keep on pushing through, but keep on advocating for yourself too, because sometimes doctors will just say you're okay because the test result will say you're okay. But there are definitely other avenues that can go down or other people they can speak to. And like that was probably a journey for me. Like now I'm being looked after by 3 teams, you know what I mean? Like it's pretty intense. I am grateful that I'm kind of being looked after by these 3 teams because they're definitely doing their best to try to figure out what's happening at this stage.
Yeah, I think it's good that doctor actually sat you down and actually emotionally bonded with you by actually explaining it. Because there's a lot of medical staff that may not be the best in terms of explaining how to get to that point, I guess.
Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of doctors that lack a lot of empathy and people skills. I think because I was frustrated because there was a doctor that said there's nothing wrong with you. You need to like leave. Or you need to discharge. And I was frustrated by him. But then another doctor stepped in and just had a really nice one-on-one conversation that obviously eased a lot of my concerns.
Yeah, that's good.
Far out.
And you did also talk about it being a dark period, or there were dark times. So we do want to dig into what were you thinking during those dark moments. Yeah,
I'd say like more like, obviously with NMO, when I got diagnosed, uncertainty, so you just go through a period where you're anxious, you're obviously in a depressive state, but even more recently too, I'll be open and honest, like the last few years, because the infections are so like intense and like pretty frequent, I almost have like PTSD when I get sick. I'll be open and honest, you know what I mean? Because once I get sick, you just go through that kind of like feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, like obviously I have mechanisms now like meditation. I have to be able to just, kind of do what I can around the house and stuff like that. And you kind of like celebrate those little wins in a way. But I think kind of having self-compassion is hard probably the biggest reason why is because I'm going through this journey with my health. So I don't really have trust in my body at this point in time. And, years before that, when I was competing, I was like peak, shape. So I definitely have some sort of imposter syndrome, dealing with identity change, going through this health journey at the same time. And I'm still going through it a little bit at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that identity is. And, I am living with this chronic illness, but probably more understanding what I can do rather than what I can't do, because sometimes you focus on what you can't do. That's when the negativity and you go through a really dark place though. So, and I definitely do feel it every time I get sick. But like I said, I lean on, the things I personally do, but my support network. I think my wife and I have just been able to have like honest conversations. And, she's always telling me that it's okay. You're going through something quite significant at the moment. And then when I talk to my friends as well and they say, you inspire me. And I'm like, what? I inspire you? Why? And I'm like, well, you're still able to like, be positive and optimistic, even though you're going through this at the moment though. Yeah. So I think, trying to reaching out to others and stuff like that and hearing their perspectives also really enables you. A lot of that self-compassion and self-love and that self-talk, still a journey for me, because every time I get sick, I'm like,
And it'd be different every time too, like what your thoughts are that comes into your mind.
Yeah, I think more recently it's been like, oh, is this what it's going to be for the rest of my life? Yeah, like, is this the reality? Because I actually have been living kind of like this for the last 2 years, more, especially in the last year. Like, it's been like every 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm learning to kind of live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is actually a question that we we're going to ask is, how are you now living with NMO and this new condition? Like, what have you done to add that to your life rather than being like, this is not my normal life, I want to get it out of me?
Yeah, I think, like I said before, that the identity change and shift that I am going through at the moment, it's still a process, but I think the quicker I was able to accept the circumstances I'm in was the ability for me to move forward. But naturally, in human nature, we have to go through our emotions, being sad, being depressed. It's just natural. You have to go through it. But once you get to a stage where you're like, okay, I need to change. And I guess like I've been able to do that because I've had prior experiences in life, prior like setbacks and traumas and stuff like that have enabled me to do that and kind of learn from it at the same time. Acceptance and kind of willing to really embrace the situation you're in. Like, being able to see the silver lining in every situation will really allow you to move forward, because it allows you to think about what you can control in that situation, right there and then, because that's the reality of what it is. Because you can't focus on what you can't control, but what you can control, you can. And then if you focus in on that and just make a little plan or whatever it is, you take it day by day, that will kind of enable you to kind of get out of it.
Yeah. And if you've already answered this, you can skip it. But was there a hardest part of this whole journey that you remember, like whether it's like dealing with the acceptance or mindset or?
Yeah, I think physically the hardest part was when I did have my first attack with NMO, because I was the sickest I've been in, like dealing with all these symptoms I've never faced before, like vision issues, not being able to keep down food. And I actually had hiccups for 2 weeks straight. I don't know if I mentioned it before.
Yeah.
That was like the worst, because it was hard to sleep. And then more recently, like dealing with these infections, but I actually got COVID for the first time last year. And it hit me so hard because I'm immunosuppressed at the same time. And then I actually ended up getting pneumonia.
Oh, no.
Oh, shit.
So I was in hospital for about a week. So that was another time where I was like probably the sickest I'd been in a different way. It took me probably about 6 weeks to recover from it.
Oh, shit.
Even being discharged out of hospital, I would go for a walk for about 20 minutes and I'd feel tired. You know what I mean? Because you're basically having an infection in the lungs.
Yeah.
And then like by probably maybe 1 or 2 p.m., I'd be exhausted. I had to go to sleep. Like, and that was pretty scary. So those are probably physically the hardest times. Like, I think emotionally, the last 2 years is just the life that we're going to live. My wife and I have kind of come to terms that this could be it, but we're trying to make the most of it and trying to really navigate through that. But I think we're pragmatic about it. We're still hopeful that we're able to find some sort of, I don't think there's going to be a cure, but there's just something to manage a little bit better, where I can have like months where I feel well, you know what I mean? And all a bit longer than that. Yeah, every 2 to 3 weeks is pretty challenging. So, but like I said before, it's kind of enabled my wife and I to achieve a lot of the goals in between that.
Yeah, and it would be hard because you also run your own business, online coaching, and to manage it between those times too would be difficult.
Yeah, like that's why like I think my coaching business I had to kind of like just take a bit of a break from it, especially in the last 2 years. I wasn't posting as much content because I wasn't training, but my whole life was about exercise, gym, fitness, right?
Yeah.
So it was really difficult. How could I post about that if I wasn't really practicing?
Mm.
And it was the right thing to do. And then even my 9 to 5, I'm no longer at it at the moment, but it was because of like my health issues kind of led to this point. Now, let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
What would you do if like one day you wake up and you were so sick that you just couldn't continue doing the things you love, like your work or your hobbies? Like, how would you feel?
Yeah, definitely be really hard and would go through that initial like depression, like what is happening to me? What is happening to my life? And I think it's really like what you said is just thinking about through it and maybe even grieving what that old life is and then thinking, all right, what can I do now with this new lifestyle and finding new options or new opportunities?
Yeah, you're right. I think it's that's kind of a process I'm going through now where I'm grieving a little bit about my old life because like, I'm no longer in my 9 to 5, which was like, I was there for 11 years. So it was a big part of my identity in a way, right? But being continually sick like this, I just couldn't manage it and couldn't continue it too. So at the same time now, like you said before, it creates kind of a new opportunity, and I'm kind of looking at those opportunities now and what's kind of next at the moment.
Yeah.
But it also, you have to have like a ability to kind of move forward and have that drive to it. Having these health issues in a way, because if you don't have your health up, when I'm good, when I'm healthy, I'm quite motivated to do the thing. And I probably would say I have to thank that bodybuilding journey to provide me that because it provided me a lot of discipline, a lot of commitment and a lot of drive. And I did it for years on end, and then competing. Because when you do a show, you probably would have to prepare. You would probably do like a minimum 4 or 5 month prep.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of your life. So like I have to definitely thank like the bodybuilding stuff to really prepare me for a lot of things now. And like I apply a lot of these lessons that I've learned into the life I do have now though.
Yeah, that's good. And you like answered all the questions that we always want to ask. I was going to say, no, that's good. Because I was going to say, did the fitness journey help you with dealing with NMO? Because obviously the fitness journey is usually a long-term thing. Like you don't see it till maybe 6 months to even a year later. So that and helping you work through these things.
Yeah, it definitely helped through the health stuff. But also I applied it to like when I was working my 9 to 5, like to my career as well. So like the hard work, the discipline, the commitment. That's why I was able to get promoted to become a leader in that field and get promoted 3 times in 5 years. You know what I mean? So that does like that bodybuilding stuff. You can apply to a lot of other things. Even like this day and age, cost of living and saving for a house, saving, budgeting, all these things too. Like you can apply it to so many things too. So I think that's probably been one of the hardest things though, like not being able to train like I used to.
Especially if that was what you did, like that
your
was
identity,
your life
basically.
back
It was
then
my
too.
identity. So that was pretty difficult. I probably didn't mention it in the last question, but that was probably definitely one of the hardest things though, because it was my life. I've still been able to do it on and off like a little bit. So it's not hasn't completely gone, you know what I mean? But then at the same time, I've been able to do other things to give me that little bit of fulfillment.
Yeah, and totally can imagine because we're both fitness junkies as well. So if we could imagine a life where you can't work out, I think we would struggle as well. Because even as simple as an injury and that sets you back for 2 weeks, that's a struggle because mentally you want to do something, but physically you can't.
Yeah, that's probably been the thing that I've had to really navigate through. And like the days when I'm sick, am I able to, just go for a walk and stuff like that? That definitely was a journey because sometimes you wake up and you feel unwell. The first thing you want to do is just lay in bed and just rest or whatever, sleep. Like now I have to I generally wake up with naturally just a sore throat, a bit of congestion, sometimes a headache, but then I get up. I give myself maybe like 20 minutes, half an hour just to see how I really feel. Then it'll allow me to go, oh yeah, okay, I can go for a walk,
Nice.
or I can do some chores around the house. But if I don't feel well, then I'm like, okay, maybe it's just time to rest though.
Yeah, like understanding your body in a different way too.
Yeah, and it's a journey because it's easy to do the thing where you don't feel unwell and just rest. But because I've been going through it so long, it's kind of like, okay, what can I do with this sickness when I feel a bit unwell? Or hey, I feel okay now. Let's do other things too. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely inspirational, even though when your friends are saying you're an inspiration and you don't believe it, it is because
Yeah, it is.
you've managed to manage a team and work up in your career and then where you are now and even transitioning from fitness to now online coaching. Like you're achieving a lot, even though you get this on and off
Yeah.
weeks of, being in hospital and then this gung-ho moment where you're just trying to achieve everything. So it is inspirational.
yeah, I think it's just natural human nature. We're like our own harshest critics, right? So that the voice in our head, right, sometimes tell us that we're not doing enough. And that's probably maybe a part of our Asian upbringing or something like that. You know what I mean? You're hearing your mum and dad's voice and you're like, you're not doing this. Why aren't you a doctor or a lawyer or whatever? You know what I mean? But it's a lot of like retraining in a way, like that thought process. And like, I think a part of my meditation that I have added is self-talk. You know, if I do feel unwell, that, you know, today's still going to be a good day, that I'm still going to be able to do some of these things and stuff like that. So
Like reframing the mindset.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And some people actually have to go therapy to do that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I think for me, I've been, you know, quite blessed in a way because I've experienced a lot of setbacks in a way.
Yeah.
So it's really allowed me to kind of go, dude, everything's going to be okay. You've been through like that and this and that, you know what I mean? So it's enabled me, those setbacks have really allowed me to kind of like progress forward. It hasn't been easy, let me tell you that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's taught you a lot of patience too.
Yes.
Because you're applying that to everything, it seems.
Yeah, even now, like, you know, my wife and I, like, we've been married for 3 years, right? And naturally, when you get married, the first thing you want to do is start a family.
Yeah.
And like, we've had to delay a lot of our plans just because of this illness at the same time. Like, we're seeing a lot of our friends at the moment having kids. So you naturally get that FOMO, right?
Yeah.
And we're experiencing that now, but we also are understanding that we can't really start a family if I'm constantly sick, like every 2 to 3 weeks, right? So yeah, that it's impacted a lot of things as well, though. But yeah, patience is not just for myself; it's for my wife as well. So
Yeah. So from everything that you've gone through in your journey and just learning and reframing your mind, what are some 3 key takeaways or learnings that you could share with people throughout your journey?
yeah, the first one I would say is your health is your number one priority. So no matter what you do in your life, I think you need to look after that. It might be mental, physical. So having some sort of exercise or some sort of, you know, sport or something, going for a walk, doing anything, it's super important because I think it's important for us as humans. Like even like back in the day, cavemen, like or cavemen and women, we should say that inclusion diversity.
Cave
So
people.
yeah. But you know, like we're hunting, walking, running around. Like we weren't meant to sit in a chair
down,
in an
yeah.
office the whole time. So I think like humans are meant to be active. And then doing something for the mind. So, like I said, I recommend meditation. Sorry, you can get therapy if you want, but you know, meditation, or it could be reading, it could be learning something new, it could be studying, but doing something to, you know, really challenge your mind in a way. That's probably something that has been difficult for the past 2 years because I've kind of been on and off work as well. And like when you're at work, you're flexing your mind, you're flexing your brain in a way. So I had to do a lot of things at home to really do that because when you're sick and you're not doing much and you're not using it, you can definitely feel it. Thinking of words, vocabulary, you know, those things.
Yeah,
So health is a big one. I say that. So your mindset and obviously physical. The second one I would say is, like I said before, is probably acceptance. So really accepting the circumstances you're in and then, you know, paving your way and making a plan to move forward. Part of that is embracing that too. And probably the last part is just gratitude. Like I said before, when you get humbled by health issues, nothing else really matters. You know what I mean? Like your health is obviously, if you have that, awesome. But then like you're going through health issues, like the people are there to support you.
Yeah.
You know, your partner, your wife, your family, your friends. Those are the real things because as you get older, those are the connections that you do have. Yeah, those probably 3 big things: health, acceptance, and gratitude.
Yeah, no, those are really good takeaways. Well, in terms of NMO itself and what you've learned so far, what's the outlook and like the future NMO, if you could share any?
Yeah, so with for me, I've been quite stable with my NMO. So since 2016, I haven't had an attack, which is really good.
Yeah.
Like I connect with a lot of people in the NMO community on Facebook and even on Instagram and stuff like that. And like I know a girl that I think she's in her mid-20s, but she's a quadriplegic and she's lost vision in her one eye already.
Oh my God.
Far out.
So, you know, like that gives me perspective as well. And so I've been really lucky in that. So like that makes me go, I'm good, you know what I mean? So I can do other things. There are a lot of things that people can understand and find out a little bit more. So MS Australia do a little bit research on NMO as well, because NMO is quite similar to MS. Yeah. So that's another one. But the biggest like NMO foundation is called Guthrie Jackson, and that's based in California in America.
Oh.
So they do a lot of research. They actually recently did a patient conference. So a lot of patients came to a conference for 3 days, shared their stories, asked questions of like doctors and stuff like that, which I watched on YouTube. And it was really inspirational, kind of like, you know, hearing other people's stories and stuff like that and what they've gone through. And like, for me, I've been pretty lucky because like, I haven't lost my vision. I haven't, you know, lost my ability to walk or been able to keep down food and stuff like that too. But there are definitely others that have been impacted a lot worse than me though. So
far out. Yeah. And then just in terms of if someone wants to support, where can they find support for NMO, sorry?
Check out MS Australia. That's a local one. That's one you know. But Guthrie Jackson, so that's on Instagram, Facebook. You can Google it. But I would say because NMO, like probably people are hearing it for the first time in their life, just Google it and just find out more about it. I'd probably say that's probably the one thing that I would say is like living with this autoimmune condition, it's invisible. You can't really see it. And then like this perception that people have of me, because I was this fit person, right? Now I'm living with this illness, which is like you can't really see. But yeah, that's probably those places to definitely look through though. But just Google it, understand a little bit more and kind of go from there.
Yeah. And then also future for yourself, like what are some goals and future things that you're working towards?
Yeah. So like I said before, I've had to kind of leave my 9 to 5 due to my health issues at the moment, but it's allowed me to kind of go back in and focus on my online coaching business. So my online coaching business is definitely more focused on like fitness and health, but I'm gradually bringing in more the mental side, the mindset. So a part of that, and I'm actually studying a diploma of counseling.
Nice.
My 9 to 5, I had a lot of relationships with people and like listening to them, having empathy and kind of like coaching them through problems and helping them motivate them to be successful in certain things. So I enjoyed that the most. So that's where I want to go into counseling and navigate and see where it can take me as well, and kind of bring it all with my online coaching business too. And I'm working on creating more content, a bit more diverse, collaborating with other people, like doing podcasts like this. I do have other podcasts lined up at the same time as well. And yeah, that's kind of that for me. And then, but I think the biggest thing really right now is just getting my health right, trying to just figure out what are the next steps and to get some stability at the moment because I don't have that. So that's probably the main focus, to be open and honest.
Yeah, health is wealth.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it
it's
is.
important.
100%.
Health as well.
Health is wealth.
You're rapping now, hey?
Spitting bars.
So I wish I could rap. Before we leave, could we get you to share where they can find you and any links?
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah. So in Instagram, anesthetics _. That's where you'll find my main page. I also have a business with my brother as well called Shred Living. So that's on Instagram too. So Shred Living. That's more focused on like group fitness and like kind of training at the same time. But then also on Facebook as well. So Anesthetics ICN Pro is my Facebook one. And then also on Facebook, Shred Living as well. So that's where you can find me. But definitely give me a follow, give me an ad, any questions or anything coming from this podcast. I'll be happy to answer anything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us.
No worries.
I think you've shared a lot of knowledge in terms of, NMO, but also your journey as well.
And being so vulnerable,
Yeah.
which is really good because people don't hear too much of that, and to hear that and people might be able to relate, or even if with other challenges or struggles that they're going through right now, to understand that, and even like the deep dark thoughts that sometimes we keep to ourselves. It's good to share that and be vulnerable because we can all lean on each other and just share our experiences.
Yeah, I think it's super important to be vulnerable, but it takes like a lot of probably life lessons and experience to get to that point too, and probably just a focus in a way. But I'm like internally grateful for you guys for just providing this opportunity for me to share my story and kind of share my mindset to kind of go through these things as well, because you're creating a platform for people like us to share those stories though. So thank you for you as well. So
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing.
That's
And
all right.
it's
No problem.
important. So
It takes courage to do a podcast and to do this as well though. So you're doing something that's kind of uncomfortable, right? So I'm kind of going through that process now where I'm going into the uncomfortable with a lot of things at the moment, but also at the same time I see it as an opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
goodbye.
Peace.
Peace out.